Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, we have by Congress given some restrictions to the visa waiver program. Ms. Johnson, let me ask you this. Did the administration discuss the exceptions to these restrictions with the government of Iran before announcing those exceptions to Congress and the American people?
Are you referring to a conversation between or a letter between Secretary Kerry and Foreign Minister Zarif?
I'm referring to any communication with the Iranian government about the exceptions.
So I know that Secretary Kerry did send a letter to Foreign Minister Zarif after the Iranians publicly claimed that this law violated the JCPOA commitments. In that letter, Secretary Kerry defended the law, telling him that it was not a violation of the JCPOA commitments. He also outlined the fact of what the law was, again, defending the law, but also outlined why it was not in the violation of those commitments, because it is possible for Europeans to travel to Iran and conduct legitimate business.
So there was communication. Can we have a copy of that letter if we don't already have it, Mr. Chairman? That'd be entered in the record.
And these are letters, I mean, we've gotten similar letters from our VWP or similar inquiries. Again, I've met with...
Okay, it's concerning to me that Congress passes restrictions and then the administration has conversations with the Iranian government and makes exceptions to the restrictions that were imposed by law, by Congress. I'd like to have a copy of that. You mentioned also a little while ago the legitimate business-related purposes. I have absolutely no idea what that means. What's the definition? How is that defined?
Well, obviously, legitimate business, we are working through how we would process that in the context of the waivers, but obviously in the case of Iran, it would not be sanctionable, things that are sanctionable under both U.S. law and regulations, UN Security Council resolutions, things of those natures. That would be our basis for starting out.
So you're saying you don't have a real firm definition either?
Definitely from the sanctionable side, obviously, and then we would be looking at how we could also narrow down a review of those individual case-by-case waivers to determine legitimate business.
I just don't understand how someone with a so-called legitimate business-related purpose, how that business, someone traveling to Iran or Iraq or wherever it may be, somehow falls under a national security exemption. And can you explain that?
For both Iraq and Iran? Or,
sure.
Yeah. So obviously, in the case of Iraq, we have been encouraging governments from VWP countries, but more broadly, more globally, to engage in business with Iraq to help stabilize their economy. That's in our national security interests. For Iran, the same thing. We're looking at these foreign partners, in particular the VWP countries, to engage in, they've got legitimate business interests and permissible under the JCPOA. Again, that's why we have a deadline of July 14th when it was concluded, not before. And those are international security interests, those partners to be able to participate in that activity. These are partners, again, who are contributing to our national security by participating in the VWP program. They're providing us with additional information on known and suspected terrorists. We also have information on how they do border controls, both at their sea and land and airports. And again, we are constantly monitoring our partnerships with those countries to make sure that it's securing the homeland and it's not undermining our security.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Kurlikowski. The Department of Homeland Security, are they currently monitoring individuals who have traveled to countries like Syria, Iraq, some of these other countries where there is known radicalization and training efforts that are ongoing in those countries? Are those individuals being monitored?
We would not do that. The Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation would be in a much better position to answer that. We do share...
Is there anyone on the panel that can answer that? So we have experts here. We don't know whether these people traveling to these countries where there's radicalization taking place, we don't know if they're being monitored.
Well, actually, the Department of Justice could answer it in a closed session with probably far more specificity.
But none of you can answer it, so that's not public knowledge. We don't know. Is that?
We would not want to release information or talk about the number of people or who is being monitored, who may pose a threat to the people of this country.
All right, my time is almost gone. Then let me just, since you can't answer that, let me ask it this way. Is there any way for the U.S. government to prevent individuals from visa waiver countries where there is radicalization and training terroristic training taking place. Is there any way to ensure that these individuals cannot enter the United States under the visa waiver program?
You know, as a police chief of two of the largest cities in the country, I was never held accountable for having Seattle not having any crime. We did the very best we could. I would tell you that it might be very much similar to what we do now. Every day, Customs and Border Protection personnel deny admissibility in this country to 241 people that are either stopped at pre-clearance, they're stopped at a port of entry, or they're arrested or apprehended. It happens every single day.
But we're giving exceptions to a visa waiver program that, as you just had mentioned, as you just declared, has no real security. We don't know if we're preventing people from radicalized countries from coming into the United States under the visa waiver program.
And I didn't say that. I wouldn't say that it has no, I'd say it has greater security than many of the systems in place.
My time's up, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.